Across the Pond.
Welcome back, guys, to Across the Pond. For today's episode, we're joined with the lovely Justean Winter. Hi, Justine. How are you?
Hi,
Thank you
Amanda.
for being here. It's fab to have you. Now, Justine's well known for her whistleblowing on NHS negligence, but today we're going to talk about something of a more spiritual basis, something that's a bit closer to Justine's calling. So, Justine, I would love to know how you got into nursing.
Right, so I know this sounds daft. I feel like I had the calling from when I was 4. So I had my little uniform on with my little cross on it, like my red uniform. And as much as I do have the picture, if this makes sense, I actually do remember the moment. I remember going to nursery and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? I just wore it forever. I just knew that I wanted to be a nurse. And in fact, if you even asked my mum, she'd be like, yeah, she was always helping. If we went to weddings, I'd be picking up the glasses and things like that. I'd just go and do these things. It was like, yeah, just go and help out. Obviously went on to do my training. So my pre-nursing I was 17. So went on to my diploma. And then just kind of learning about myself, if that makes sense. So you're learning about yourself and you're learning about who we are as people. And what do we want from that and stuff like that. So I did go to church. I actually went to Catholic Methodist Church, which I went past the other day, and it's now called Hope Church. And I actually thought that was beautiful. I actually got married there. And
Wow.
I used to go to play school there. I used to go to Sunday school. And that's my point. I love Easter, Christmas, just about bringing people together. And just trying to be that bit more helpful, incorporated that through my career, just trying to do my best. Obviously, I made mistakes, not saying I didn't, hands up and stuff like that, but I just did all that, but I really pushed to learn things and everything else. But today's lesson is really more about like how we get on with things and the challenges and obstacles, because we know that it's not easy, because we certainly know it's not. If anybody knows this, I'm actually losing my home because of what's been going on and because I've, not had any work. But I have set up my own company, which I'm proud of. It's only for me, it's just solo, just doing little things. But what I'm trying to say is...
What's the name of your company, Justine?
So my company's
What's the name of your company?
Oh, it's called Creme de la Creme Freelance Nurse.
So you're still in the nursing, committing to what your calling was?
At one point I was actually going to give up because I was just so down, I was just so hurt, and I don't know what it was. And then I just had a good couple of people in my life that just said, don't give up, don't give in. So I didn't, and then everything escalated. When I've actually seen, so here's the spiritual side of me. I've seen 3 people in cars and they weren't even there.
Wow.
So I've seen I've actually seen my late husband, and I know this sounds really daft, but I've had auras since I was a kid. And
you could see the aura.
Oh yeah. So this one's not going to be very nice what you hear, but it started off when I was in work, when I was in Cardiff. This was one of the girls, she said to me, oh, how's my baby? And she was pregnant. And I knew she'd lost it. And but what I see is, it's not, so if somebody'd lost the baby, and I have seen this a couple of times, I see there's no circle around the stomach, right, around the uterus. There's nothing, it's gone. And what it's telling me is that it's focusing around the person, not on the baby, because the baby's gone. And I was heartbroken at kind of realising my curse, if that makes sense.
That's not a curse, I don't think, Justine. That's a gift. It really is.
So anyway, I just concentrated on, like, I obviously didn't want to tell her, and I didn't. Okay, I didn't. This happened a few times, and I'm like, I can see this. Why am I seeing things like this? And I couldn't understand it. Anyway, you go to work, you still do your best and trying to help people. And more so, it's because that's what we do, it's the end of life. When the soul leaves the body. And I have never, and I'm really proud to say this, Amanda, I have never left one patient in 33 years in all of my career. So even from a young start, right? Even when I started working on the wards, I'd always open, I don't know why. I can honestly tell you, I don't know why, but I always opened a window or a door. I didn't understand it then. I just automatically done it.
To allow
Right?
the energy to exit.
Yeah. So
I love that.
so that basically the spirit has to go home, the soul has to go home, or the soul has to go wherever it needs to go. It could be the other side of the world, but guess what? You have to let it go because that's what it wants. And all these other little things are happening to me in different things and stuff like that. So anyway, I obviously catch pregnant, and I'll tell you the truth, Amanda. I actually thought a few times, I don't want this curse. I actually felt it was a curse, okay? I don't want it no more. I don't want it. It's affecting me because I felt like I was just taking in so much all the time. Does that make sense? I couldn't cope with everything that I was learning, my knowledge and stuff like that. And it was like I couldn't concentrate on my job, you know? It was like, gosh, all these things are going on. Anyway, when I got pregnant, this sounds very bizarre now, the next part of the quiz, I actually lost it.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I felt like I lost my powers, right? However, this is how I look at this. I didn't lose my powers. I just lost my powers for that time that I was pregnant, right?
So to allow you to really
allow me to grow my baby, yeah. Now, don't get me wrong, I had a tough time on both my pregnancies, but I guess what? I made the most of it. I really tried to enjoy it as much as possible. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then, so after that, I got it back after my first was born. And I'm
How long did it take to come back once you give birth?
It's not instant. It's just a case of waiting for the next wave, if that makes sense.
That makes total sense.
So it's like I call it. I know it sounds daft. I call it the 10-year plan. So all our lives for 10 years, each 10 years it changes for us, doesn't it? So like your eyesight. You know what I mean? Going on the menopause. Yes, I'm on the menopause. You know, it's stuff like that. Well, I'm post-menopause now.
Yeah, we had this conversation. I'm praying for mine.
So it's stuff like that, you know? And then, so I lost it, got it back. And then I realised, and I didn't kind of tell myself off, nothing like that. And then when I got pregnant again, I lost it all again. And I'm like, I know what it is now. I know it's for my baby. I know I need that for me now. But I was still good in work. Do you know what I mean? End of life. I was always with you. I'd never like close the door. And if it was no place, I'd open the next door that I possibly could. Do you know what I mean? Because that's how it works in the hospital. There's not always a door, is there? There's not always a window. And then when I had my second one, I just said within, probably another few more months, and I got it back. And I realised then, it was after going through this like transitioning period, I'm like, I'm ready for this now. I understand it, and it wasn't a curse anymore. It was what you said. It was a gift, and it was meant to be. Obviously, get on with your career, bringing your children up and stuff like that. And like I said, doing my real best as a nurse, I was really, really good, and I still am. Do you know what I mean? I'm not just saying that. But like I said, all these life challenges that we get, and guess what? You can, if you really want to, you can make it. You just got to try and reach out to the people that really have got the energy to help you through it. It's no good staying with negative energy.
I totally agree with that.
It's not. You have to stay away from it. So also, I totally agree with you. Yeah. And also, I learned this very quickly in life, and it's called 3 times and out. I can actually do 1 and out now. So basically, 3 times and out means you hurt me 3 times and you're gone.
I love that. I love that. That is, you know what? I'm going to start using that for myself.
It's 3 times and out. But like I said, I'm so trained now, I can go, ta-da, there's the door.
Forget the 3rd time, you're out on the 1st. I love it.
Yeah, and I can do that. And I'm not a regretful person either. I've made mistakes. But I'm not going to live with that either, because you know what? There's more people, everybody's made a mistake. You know, not everybody is like, don't get me wrong, of course I've told white lies to the kids, no, because you don't want them to know. You know, so it's, you know, we do have to have, you know, a protective instinct and stuff like that to protect ours.
Definitely.
That's it, end of. But how I looked at me was through nursing, like I protected them. And I actually feel like now I was meant for that position. I was meant to be in there trying to save from other people. And that's how it worked. That's how it rocked for 33 years with me. And I'm actually really grateful for that, Amanda. I really am. I like who I am. I don't need to hate myself. I've pushed, I've pulled, I've done a lot. Anyway, so moving forward, I've obviously, got married, divorced, and then I met somebody else, as you do. And that's the other thing, people might not like me for saying this, but unfortunately the world keeps turning. And I don't want you to feel that you have to regret everything, even if you meet somebody else. And that's my other thing. So people go, oh, I'm not going to meet somebody else. I'm not going to do this. And it's life. It's, we've all, whether you choose to do it or not, it's fine. But like, don't be saying the never, never. There's no such word as never. And then sometimes
it's just a constant evolution, isn't it,
and
of character.
Yeah, and it is, and it's evolving and stuff like that. And it's, do you know what? We go through so much pain as people anyway. And I'm not just on about other things in life that's going on and stuff like that. So I'm trying to keep this to this. So anyway, I just got married. And 5 months later, my husband fell ill. And we unfortunately found out just, so Chris actually had, it's called a Nissan fundoplication. So basically it's for a hiatus hernia, esophageal prolapse. So the Nissan fundoplication, so there's your stomach, and what we do is we just oversew it. And unfortunately, after the surgery, Chris developed an ulcer, which very, very quickly, within seconds, turned to cancer. And it was actually on the stomach duodenum. So unfortunately, that was 31st of October. Within 4 days, Chris was very ill, going back into hospital several times, and just heartbreaking moments every single time. It doesn't matter what you're going through; it's one thing after another, And like I said, everything that I've gone through in my life, I've lost a baby. I've had the marriage, I've had the divorce, and I've met somebody, and I've remarried, and then I'm just been told you got cancer. So what actually happened was, within, let me think, December 13th, 2018, very sadly, Chris had a Whipples. Now, if anybody knows what a Whipples is, it is brutal surgery. Okay, it's gastrectomy. Honestly, just look it up. It's so much in depth. And Chris had the added extras. And he ended up in ITU, which I think most of them do anyway, if I'm being honest. And then, sadly, that day, on December 13th, which was my birthday, I actually got told that Chris was palliative and end-of-life care. And then it's very surreal. It's very thing. And then it takes me back into my career where I worked in endoscopy in Cardiff, and you've just got a line of people that are literally in moments just been told they've got bowel cancer or they've got lung cancer, and you're trying to help these people then, because like I knew it by then, if that makes sense, because obviously I'd lost Chris and stuff like that, and I'm going through trying to really just help these people and thinking, oh my gosh, what do I do? And because I know it, but not to scare them. But I'd like to think that with my knowledge, I don't want to hurt you. I really don't. But it's like, do you know what? I remember what that nurse said. She told us about PIP. She told us about, the disability badge. She told us these little things, because these things you don't even think about, because those are the things that can give you that quality of life. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So when they're going through something like this, they're probably not thinking anything, anything other than what's going on. Yeah, so I think you being there and being able to tell people, give them that advice, you're making a massive impact, Justine, and I don't even think you realise how much of an impact you're truly making, even from what you might seem as a little small thing, a little bit of advice, could make such a massive difference to someone, personally in their life. And like, honestly, you're a true strength. You really are.
Thank you. But it just come from there. It just come from, right, Justine, you know what you got to do. You know how you got to help this person through and do, and even if it's not taken the right way, you never target somebody just because they don't understand. You just give them that bit more time or whatever and stuff. Like I said, you've said it. and then person goes away and does what they do. Anyway, so here's my funny bits coming up, right? So unfortunately, obviously, just was it? So that was in the November, we were told that Chris was palliative. And as the time went on then, coming up, so obviously you realise that everything is the last walk together around the block, the last conversation you'll ever have, the last word. And I think what I was finding, even though I've been a nurse, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what these people went through, you know? And it's putting it together for me then. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've tried to help so many people, and now I've got to try and help myself, you know, to deal with it and to get through it. Because there's very little actual help out there. So when it comes to counselling, nobody can help you. It's just talking. That did not help me. You know, I needed to do something. So what I found was distraction. You know, doing things, doing the gardening, just picking up, just cleaning the house. I didn't stop. Seriously, I must have cleaned the garage about 20 times, Amanda. And I'm like, the next thing then, I've just like, oh my gosh, you are, you know, I'm trying to sort things out. And I'm like, so I've got, who is it? I've just been distracted.
Justine, don't worry, take your time. Honest, I'm surprised my kids are not running in and out.
You, like, what are you doing? I'm trying not to make him bark. Anyway, so yeah, so what I find out is, so we took the walk around the block, and Chris actually said to me, he said, he said, what you're going to do with me? Now, this was in February. This was the last time he walked, okay, up until really being housebound. And I said to him, I'm going to take you around the world. And he said, it sounds like a plan. And I've actually taken my husband to 62 countries. Plus islands in 6 years.
I love Ireland.
Yeah, and Ireland. Yeah, so I sprinkle a little bit of my husband's ashes all over the world.
I love that.
And that's what I've done. So even when I've gone out, if I've gone so when I got to Snowdon, he's at the top on the top. If I get to the top of a mountain, I'll sprinkle him there.
You'll be hiking up Mount Fuji, Justine.
Yeah, and I actually, this sounds daft, but I still buy him presents.
No, I love that.
Yeah, and what I'm trying to say is, it's like memories. It's really important that we keep our memories, because you know what? They'll probably take everything else from us.
Yeah.
I've got, you know, my cabinet, you know, with my F1 stuff in, that's, do you know what I mean? It's going to be, you know, your little heirloom to keep and stuff like that. And whatever it is, your spouse, I've kind of, what I've learned with Chris is I can put him there, I can keep him in the bubble, and I can separate out. So that's where I got to. However, when we were in the Gwent, and the actual doctor told us that Chris had 4 weeks left to live, and I seriously broke again. And you do, every single step is break, you know, and you've got to walk away and you've got to walk back to it and stuff like that. And then what happened then was, so Chris said to me, he said, I want to go to the hospice. He said, not at home. So we sorted it out. She was lovely. I'm being honest, hospice care, she was amazing. The whole team were, and they were St David's in Cardiff, in Newport, sorry. And brilliant team, lovely people. I'm not saying that I was the easiest, but I'm losing my husband, and obviously, you know, they kind of let you have their rant, because it just builds up. And you just don't know how to release it. You know, when somebody that you love is dying. And do you know what? Chris has been gone 6 years, and I still love him, you know? I still adore him.
That will never go away.
I still love him. He was a rat bag, mind, but I still you know, it's just the way of the world. You know, it is the way of the world. When somebody gets taken away from you, it really is a very different matter, you know? because I actually got told this and I was really upset by this, but somebody said, well, what's the difference between divorce and losing somebody? And I'm like that. Oh my God.
Oh my, who
You
said,
know,
okay,
no,
don't say who said
seriously.
it, but what?
Yeah, no,
What?
seriously. Yeah, you get all these random comments like, wow.
On your
So,
socials?
no, this was just in talking, you know, just like with
In
colleagues.
normal talk? Oh, that's just all, like, honestly, I have
Yeah.
no words for that one.
What's the
I
difference?
hope
I'm
you put
a,
him straight,
you,
Justine. Yeah. I hope you put
I
them
normally
straight. I'm
do.
being serious. I'm now emotionally invested in this. I'm like,
Yeah,
what?
I know. So Christmas, so we got to the hospice, and the next thing then, obviously, so I've got a book, and it's actually in the cabinet, and it's a book about F1, right? And it's Virginia Williams. And I started reading the book to him. So I bought the book for him and I started reading the book. And he said to me, will you just keep reading to me? So I did. And I actually started realizing I'm starting to quicken up on this book because I'm thinking he's going to go, he's going to go, he's going to go. And I'm in the hospice. And my husband actually did say this to me. He said, now he couldn't eat, he couldn't drink. Well, he could manage a little bit of red sauce, right, and an egg until that stopped, if that makes sense. And then, you know, my senses are going now. They're going nuts. And then he says to me, don't forget to bring in the Tia Maria and we'll have date night. So we actually had date night in the coffee room. Me with my Tia Maria. He couldn't eat or drink and he just sat there and we just chatted. And the other thing that we did, we'd have a coffee there. Well, I'd have the coffee. Yeah, and he'd actually text me. It's date night. You can see all my texts. It's all on there. It's date night. On June the 3rd, in the morning, was Chris's actual last words to me, and his actual last words in text message was funny, honey, I feeling, and obviously, you know, feeling the way he was going, and that's it. But his actually words with some lovely family of Chris's, it was I love you, was it to infinity and beyond, and I love you like jelly tots. And it was his last words, honestly. And then he went into a coma. And I don't think it didn't hit me until straight away that he wasn't talking. Does that make sense? I just thought, oh, he might talk, even though I've been in this all my life, you know, and I knew it, but when it was me, it was like, wow, you know. So that night, I was actually in the hospice, and I was checking my house cameras, which I've actually shown you the footage.
Yes.
And I wasn't checking on my neighbours because they were checking on the dog for me, but I thought, well, I'll just check the cameras. And I just went, what is that on my camera? And it's on my van. And I quickly recorded it because actually, you know, I recorded it on my other phone at the time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is that real? What have I just seen? And it's a portal. That's not just, I understand energy, but that is a portal into the next realm. And I actually believe that. And I'm thinking, how amazing is that that is on my van, right? So what I decided to do, and if somebody done this properly, because I've only done it off my little phone, there's screenshots of my husband's in the van. You can see his eye, you can see his face very clearly. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how many people have got stuff like this? But my husband's by the side of me, because obviously I'm in the hospice, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. But I didn't, and I still appreciate it today, and it really actually to help me connect and stay connected. Not that I would lose it now. I've been, you know, in this for so long. They're certainly not going to get my, you know, my beliefs to my beliefs, but it's definitely a higher power. I mean, that footage is phenomenal footage.
Well, the footage was undeniable. When I seen it, I was shocked. When you had said to me you had the footage of this going on, like at that same time, I was like, well, you know, I thought, you know, maybe it'd be just a little bit, but it was so much energy. being, thrown. It was definitely something going on, and I would love, obviously, everyone else to be able to see this. I know our listeners obviously can't, but definitely I think if, so that people can see that clearly there's something after
I
life,
don't even
because
hold on to it, because how I look at it doesn't, it gives people hope,
yes,
and we're in such a time that people need to go, oh my gosh, you know what, I need something.
and they do,
But
but you have that,
I have that
footage, and
footage. Yeah. And so on June the 4th was actually when Chris went into his coma, and Chris actually didn't die until June the 14th. So that's 10 days on a syringe pump driver, no food, no water, no IV, no nothing. And it is heartbreaking enough anyway. At one point, Chris had asked if we could go to Switzerland, but we would never have got there, And that's what I say, that the system, it does need, we do need something, I won't go into the politics of it because I know how people think. But for me, I know that Chris was suffering, and Chris was actually 13 stone when we were together, and he actually passed away at under 6 stone. And he was just in full pain until that moment. However, when I was by the side of him, I actually woke up at 01:30 in the morning, and I actually saw my husband's soul leave his body. So this little paisley, and I did actually have this wrong before, but it's not. I just think I was thrown with the colour at the time, but it was actually a blue and a green paisley teardrop, and it's like a marble, and it just came out of his nose and flew away. And I just went.
For everyone listening, I'm getting full body goosebumps right now.
And I just went, did I just see that? I said, look at me, my whole body is gone again. And I'm like, have I actually just seen that? It flew away. So I must have fallen back asleep. Yeah. So after that, then I just kind of, pushed it all in and just, wanted the moment. I wanted it. Mm-hmm. And then at 03:40 in the morning, I actually woke up to Chris taking his last breath, right? And this one's gonna think, but it shows you that it took from the time his soul left his body to, which was at 1:30 in the morning, to 03:40. That took 2 hours and 10 minutes for the body to decompress, So I can even do, from all my time frames on my phone, all the series of events of how and what the body, and Chris was, I can't believe how intelligent he was with the amount of stuff in the syringe driver, but what I was, I was led to believe, and I'm being kind, because nobody did anything wrong. There was nothing. Okay, he had amazing care. But like, when you learned that how complex that cancer was, and how it literally sucks in all these drugs, it just sucks it in. So you're like, wow, unbelievable. If you saw his text message to me, Amanda, you'd be like, oh my gosh, he's still talking to her. He's still everything. He's still so up there on, like, he was so high up in his conscience, in the way he talked. He made a couple of spelling mistakes now and again. But what happened was, 03:40, he passed away. And I kind of, again, gave myself the time, because what I actually learned was that the reason why Chris didn't die sooner was, guess what? He was holding on for me. The person that wasn't ready to give in was me. So when I actually talked to staff, and they'll back me up on this, just go to St. David's Hospice and ask that lovely lady, and ask the manager, and ask the consultants, right, who led his care. He was one of the longest people to keep going. And that was his body making that choice. But he made that choice for me, because I wasn't ready. I couldn't let go. And I just realised that when I was reading the book, and I read the book, and I'd finished the book, and I'm like, he's still going. It's because I wasn't ready. And what I realised was, the night before, just through a pure incident of something, I realised that I had to go home. And I said to Chris, I said, I've got to go home. because I had obviously the children and I had, the dog, and I just said, it's time. And that's when he gave up for me. But do you know why? The reason why he died on the 14th of June, Amanda?
Tell me.
It's because I was born on the 13th. Not that I was born on the 13th of June, but that whole week in June, right? 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. You're not going to believe this. It's all my family's birthdays. Yeah, it's the same week. So I'm like, oh my gosh. And then Chris took the 14th. And then my auntie was born on another day. My grandpa's born on another day. And I'm thinking, why wasn't it the 13th? But the 13th he couldn't take the 13th because it was my birthday. And he gave that to me. He was like, Justine, you have to keep your birthday. And what I realised when we found out on my birthday that previous year was that, that the cancer was already spread, mets. And then I call it mixed blessings. And life is mixed blessings. It's the ups, the downs, the rolls, the rollouts, the whole works. But you have to try and get that, if you can learn it, it's about making that balance. And that's what I've learned. So he's always in my thoughts. He's always in my life. He's still in my life. And then, so this is the funny bit. So I actually get home and I just have a cup of tea, just decompress. And at 9:30, I'm just staring at my glass. I'm just staring at my cup of tea. The soul comes out to the cup of tea. So it's back home because I opened the doors after Chris died. But it comes up back in my cup of tea. And then, obviously, by the afternoon, I actually got an appointment for the births and deaths. And they ask you to take your stuff in. So I took the stuff. It was a very, obviously hard, tough, because you've got so much going on. And you've just lost your husband, but you've got to sort out your appointments and things like that. You've got to phone, the crematorium, the funeral home. And I phoned them up and they said, okay, thank you. And you don't realise what stuff that I'd left behind because you're just so thin on everything. And when Chris was in the Gwent, and I'm going to say her name, and I hope she doesn't sue me, but her name's Mrs. Tetley, okay? And she was part of the Nana Knitters in the Gwent. And that's why we need Nana Knitters, okay? Because I actually still have that little blue blanket that she gave my husband because his feet were cold in the Gwent. And I just find these little bits of rays of light are beautiful. And I just feel so blessed. I feel so lucky. And then I left the blue blanket. So I get the phone call from the funeral home, and they said, I'm just letting you know we've got 2 bags of items that were left in the room. And I said, oh, great, that's okay, that's fine, I'll come and get them. So she tells me where he is. And I just went, oh, I'm not going to get there in time, I said, with traffic and everything else, because it was just such a rush. And she says to me, I swear I'm not making this up, this is absolutely true story, you would be mind boggled on this one. And she says to me, I'm just letting you know, she said, your husband's not here. I said, what do you mean my husband's not there? She said, I've just realised that we haven't got the bags. I'm just telling you about the bags. And I just couldn't, honestly, I couldn't fathom it all out. And she went, so they told me that my husband's body was at this place, but it wasn't. So my husband went missing.
Oh my gosh.
This is an absolutely true story, Amanda, right?
No, I believe you, Justine, but I believe it would only happen to you.
So my husband's body went missing, and I just went, I just didn't do that. I actually did say this. I went, well, the bugger had me running round in bloody life after him, so he's going to run around with him too. I just took it. I just went with the flow. I wasn't angry. I wasn't hurting from losing. I'm just like, all this in one day, do you know what I mean? So she says to me on the phone, she says, is there any chance I can phone you back? And I went, well, yeah, you're going to have to, you. So this was probably from about maybe 3:30, 4 o'clock. And there's no way I would have got there, do you know what I mean? Because where she said it was. She said, I'll have to ring you back. I said, okay, that's fine. So she rings me back and she says, right then. She said, I found making this up, this woman, if she listens to this podcast, she's going to go, this was me, right? And she goes, we found your husband's body, I know what it is now. Okay, I said, thanks very much for finding him. She says, I'm just letting you know the bags are there too.
My, do
So,
you think this happened to obviously to make you laugh?
yeah, it was.
Yeah, to
Definitely. Yes,
lift you up.
seriously. Yeah, it was meant for the joke that it was. It was not meant to be anything else, right? So what I did was I contacted the funeral place, and she said, "Oh yeah, lovely. Seriously, as I said, I couldn't have asked for it any better." So she says to me, "Yes, husband's here." She said, "I've got the bags." I said, "Can I come and get them?" And she said, "Yes." So I literally got over there because it wasn't far. I swear down, Amanda, they spend an hour with me. Just with me, we're sat in this seance. It's obviously their little room, I know what I mean. But it felt like a little seance room. I think, again, just put your hands out loud and we'll be fine, do you know what I mean? So with the three of us are sitting there, and I'm going through loads of things, and she's chatting and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, wow, I've just had the most amazing counselling session after losing my husband and him going missing for the last, couple of hours. And then we part ways, and I swear down, just about to part ways, just about to leave the door, and all the lights go out in the funeral home. And these two women just went, she said, "He knows you're here, Justine." And I went, "Yeah, I know." And again, I got two witnesses, and so even afterwards, I've had little things happen in the house. I've had shelves move.
Wow.
I've sat in the chair, and I've kind of just, maybe it was a dream, I'm just saying that bit, but I actually did see my husband's hands around my waist as I got up. Yeah. I see different things all the time. Like I've always got birds around me. I don't know what that is. I've got the ducks, I've got the moorhens. I mean, I do like my little bits of, trying to get fit out the back and stuff like that. So I've got like loads of pigeons watching me, and I'm like, "You're all watching me,
Why are they here?
why are you watching me?" Just little things like that. But as I said, the footage was just phenomenal. What I would do, what I've realised is that all of my career, all of my 33 years in nursing, I was like, I get it now. I know why I'm here. I know what I'm supposed to do. And I love my job. I absolutely loved that I could, do you know what I mean? Even if it was just helping somebody, just to say, look, you know what? Don't worry about it. It's fine. We all go through these stages. We all go through these moments until something like this, because it's obviously, we all lose a spouse and stuff like that. And at some point, I say enjoy what you can while you have it. I say everything in small moderation, because you know what? If you fancy a bit of whatever, it's like a buffet, isn't it? You go to a buffet, you pick what you want, and you kind of say, do you know what? I like that bit. It's not about, I don't overindulge. I very rarely drink. I don't do drugs. I don't smoke, so I feel like, yeah. And I do want to put this one to bed, if this is okay. Obviously, we couldn't donate my husband's organs. And we all hear the stories, but I do want to say this, right? I worked and I was a scrub nurse for many years, and I've seen the good and the good again, right, in organ donation. Everybody can have their thoughts and feelings and stuff like that, but regardless, I'm staying on that organ donation register because I want to help people. And that's how I look at this. I'm not going to be deterred by stories, because if you actually see the good side of it, that's what's keeping me in this. I don't want to opt out. If I got the chance of helping somebody, guess what? I could save another 7 lives. It's a body, it's a shell. Somebody's going to do whatever. I think, again, Amanda, it comes from the fact I've worked in my own teams for organ donation. I have worked with transplant teams. Birmingham, they come down and they help and stuff like that, and you chat to them and you would talk, and we did that in a few of the hospitals. So, and I did that, like I said, from till 2000, to 2022 I was a scrub nurse, but all those years I just saw the good of it because I want to see the good of it. I don't want this thing in me to say, and that's because I do feel spiritually connected. I don't want to give up hope. I want to give somebody else hope. And all you've got to do is look at a reel that, I saw one recently. And if you actually hear the stories of, I've had a heart transplant, listen to somebody that's had a transplant off an organ donor. And they'll go, oh, do you know what? I don't know why, but I like the colour yellow now. I didn't like it before. And you listen to that person that sadly lost their life, right? And they'll go, that was my son's favourite colour. That was my daughter's favourite colour. And that's the spirituality of it all. Now, I'm not an in-depth person because I'm not. I like to think I'm in the middle. I'm always going to stay on the fence line. And the reason being is because it's called choice. You want it, you don't want it. The only thing we can't do as nurses, and you should never do this anyway, you shouldn't force or coerce anybody. Because it's about choice. It's about staying on the fence line for a reason. That's your body, that's my body. And that's the way I'm going to look at all this. But I'm not going to think. And if you see, like I said, I've met people with transplants for all different reasons. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you could take a kidney out of somebody and put it into another family member. So you see, that's the good of it. So that's how I look at it.
I completely agree with you, Justine, because personally, I don't think you need your body once you've passed. And, even as we're having this discussion, even what you said earlier with you seeing the actual soul leave the body. And it's nice that you've had that experience to see that. I don't personally think we need the body. I would be happily donating every bit if they would have it, to help someone else. So I really agree with you on this one.
The one that I did struggle a long time ago, but that's just, because we do. So that my other one was actually our eyes. So when we would put, certain organs, but not your eyes and stuff like that, it still took me, I think, 2 decades to say this, but I eventually said no, because it was like, your eyes, are the windows to your soul and stuff like that. But I'd like to think that if I could help somebody to see, they can have them as well. And I got over that years ago, like I said, probably in the last 15 years. I'd like to say, no, it's okay. That's, if we can just do that, take my corneas, if I can, I want to do that. I'm not going to be put off. I've heard so many stories and it's not going to make one bit of difference to me. You'll still have somebody go, oh, why you want it? Because it's my choice. And that's your choice. And it does everything. It's line and choice.
That's what it does come down to. It's your life. Do as you will with it.
Yeah.
So, are you okay? Do you want to take a moment?
Oh, I can tell you this bit as well. So I actually picked my husband up from the cremation place on the 4th of July, okay? And which was obviously Independence Day. And I actually had a phone call to say, I just let you know, I can't make this up, Amanda. And it was just to let you know, Justine, that we unfortunately, we've had 2 child deaths and we have to do them first before your husband. And I knew why straight away. And it's because my husband had to help them through. And that's how I look at it. He had to be behind them to support them to go through. And then when I tell you the next bit, you're just going to be thing. But when I picked up my husband, eventually, I brought him home and I'd accidentally put the cylinder upside down. The lid had come off. I swear, you're gonna think she's nuts. I'm pushing down on the cylinder, and all of a sudden, it just goes poof.
Oh dear.
And my husband's ashes go up in the air.
Oh my God.
Really? Did you have to do it that way? But honestly, it's just, and it's been since that moment, since all the previous moments, right? It's been a sick sense of humour to keep me going on the road, to keep me sane, to keep me going. Do you know what, Justine? This is what life is about. My first trip where I took my husband after he died, I went to Alaska. And I met some beautiful women on that trip, right? I went alone. And that's when I met one of the girls. And she said, do you know what that's called, Justine? I said, no, I don't. And she said, it's called mixed blessings. And that's what I learned about the mixed blessings. And she's right. It's the whole system of don't give up hope, courage, self-preservation, looking after yourself, you know, keeping this right for whatever's going to come next, you know. And unfortunately, that's my story. So I hope you did smile.
You know, you've made me smile. You've made me nearly cry. I've had full body goosebumps, and you've made me, most importantly, laugh. And I really hope, like, this episode, for whoever's listening or watching, guys, does offer, if you're going through anything similar, does offer some kind of, you know, hope. And just listen to Justean's story and really, you know, just allow yourself to be in it. I thank you so much, Justean, for sharing, and I really appreciate you, you know, obviously taking the time out to share that. And that is something that's quite personal to you, and we do appreciate you sharing that. But I know this will serve as a beacon of hope for someone that needs it. Thank you so much, Justean.
No, thank you so much.
Okay, it was lovely having you, and we will catch up soon. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll be back soon with another episode.
Just in relation to some comments that you've made on a Facebook page.
This is a Fox News alert. The Epstein files have been released.
Across the pond.
You're looking at now, sir. Everything that happens now is happening
Very serious.
now.